Hey folks, old man Grognard here with another video to entertain you for a while. I hope everybody had a great holiday season, a happy new year, seeing as it's the 1st of January 2017 right now, and I hope you got everything you wanted on the holiday season, and I wish you well. I had a pretty good holiday. I spent some afterwards because I always say, I got pants for Christmas. Actually, what I got was some kind of jammy bottoms to wear around the house and when I go to sleep, which is okay. But I spent about $200 afterwards getting some DVDs. Bob Newhart Show, complete series, Naked City, that kind of thing. For some reason, I think it's because I buy during the year, for some reason I never get gaming stuff. I guess I see that as work or something, or a hobby-related expense. I don't know. I know my family won't buy it for me, but I never buy it myself. But anyway, I've got another love, old movies and movies, period. I'm a movie buff. It spills over into my gaming, which I'm thankful for because I get a lot of good ideas from the movies. I am not much of a bibliophile when it comes to fiction, fantasy, sci-fi, regular fiction, whatever. I mean, I do have my favorites. They're mostly the classics, though. I mean, I'm a big Conan Doyle buff. I should say, I'm a Sherlock Holmes fan. I like the Alice books. And, once in a while I'll stumble on something that's good, but that's about it. Now, I feel like I'm kind of at a disadvantage when it comes to that as far as gaming goes, because I know I've realized that Tolkien had a lot of influence, and high fantasy had a lot of influence on D&D and those kind of fantasy games. But I can actually see now from looking at the other retro clones and Astonishing Swordsman and these other type of games how much the pulp fantasy influence had on Gary and Dave. I see the Lieber, I see the Howard influence in there, which I think is great. I mean, I'm sort of rediscovering it. I haven't read hardly any of the Conan stories. I'm still catching up on the Conan. Remember the old Marvel Conan comics? I got Essential Conan Volume 1, and I'm sort of going through that now. And I know Dark Horse reprinted them all in color. The essential stuff is in black and white, in addition to putting out their own new Conan series. So I'm sort of working through those. I want to get a hold of some of Savage Sword of Conan, things like that. I'm just more visually oriented. But as far as, like that kind of literature goes, okay, it's there. Like I said, I feel like I'm at a little disadvantage because I'm more into the visual, the cinematic. Now, I don't know if people, down me for that or, whatever, but it is what it is. I also got a couple of emails to read, so let's go ahead and do that. I got one from Todd. Todd? This is, actually these two emails, they're not so much emails as messages from on YouTube, because I want to tell you right now that I thought the only messages I would be getting was the ones for the individual videos. I didn't realize I had a message area for the channel itself, and I found that's like I've got like 5 or 6 messages. It's like no, I'm not answering them. It's like, oh boy, I better do something about that. Anyway, Todd says, "Hi Glenn, just wanted to run an idea by you about doing a vid or third-party supplements that could be used with D&D and AD&D. Well, yeah. I know on Save or Die, you folks did a show on Arduin, but there are a few others like All the World's Monsters and the books by Dragon Tree Press that were actually pretty nice additions as well. Hope this finds you well and happy gaming, Todd. Thank you, Todd. Sorry it took so long to answer you. But yeah, you're exactly right. I should be doing those. I don't have any experience with art. I don't know. I never really looked at Arduin. I didn't review it or anything on Save or Die because that was after I left, unfortunately. But I wouldn't, if I could ever get a hold of a set, that'd be nice. I think I may have some PDFs somewhere. As far as All the World's Monsters, well, you're in luck. I happened to find PDFs of the 3 volumes, which I promptly printed out and put in a great big old binder. I got to go through those. I mean, that's the kind of book that kind of intimidates me, even if it is a monster book, because it's got so much stuff in it. That's the kind of thing I would just pull out to see if I can find something interesting to do with the players as far as monsters go. Maybe find something weird to throw at them or something I can build an adventure around. So I should probably be looking at those. I'm trying to hold off on the. I mean, I've got the Oops series now, 4 out of print things. So I can go ahead and delve into things that you can't ordinarily get or are hard to find, even though I do try and point you in the right direction when I do it. And Dragon Tree Press, oh boy, I've been wanting some of those for a long time. I see them. I don't have the money. I don't buy them. I know Bad Mike Battleotto of North Texas RPG Con. I know he has a few every once in a while, but it just, the timing was always wrong, and they look really neat. I've always wanted to see them. I always had a set and go through them, but hopefully I can rectify that in the near future. You know, cross your fingers. But thank you, Todd. I appreciate that one. And now I have one from Travis. Travis, thank you for writing. He says, "Hi, Glenn. I really liked your videos, especially the ones that provide insight on how you run games and why. You said you wanted questions. Here's a couple. One thing that I've struggled with is how to manage a large amount of material for a game world, or worlds in the case of sci-fi. I would like to run a sci-fi game, possibly in the Star Wars or Mass Effect universes, but I'm overwhelmed at the task of managing NPCs and all the different locations and the details about them. How do you do this? Do you deal with a mind-numbing amount of information about game worlds? This essential issue is what has kept me away from campaign settings such as the Forgotten Realms. I just feel like I couldn't retain the required info, or that I just don't have the time to digest it all. Also, what are you drinking in your After Dark videos? Thanks, Travis." Let me answer the second question first. What am I drinking in my After Dark videos? Something that relaxes me. And it's very tasty. So, as far as too much information, let me give you a little, I don't want to say advice. I don't think I have advice. It's more guidance and, trying to point people in the right direction. In one of the earliest reviews videos I did, I reviewed a book called The Lazy Dungeon Master. I would recommend that to you for this reason. Now, it goes on the premise of you're making your own stuff. But you can apply it to things like Forgotten Realms or sci-fi or Star Wars or whatever. Because it falls under the principle of chunks. And what I'm saying is, did you ever, when you were younger, did you ever have somebody tell you if you had a really big task to do, and you had the time to do it, of course, you had a really big task to do, say, clean out a garage or take stuff to the dump or something, somebody would always say, break it up into smaller, manageable chunks and do that. Or even stuff like, write an essay, write a paper. Break it up into smaller, more manageable chunks. And then before you know it, it's done. Well, that's pretty much what the Lazy Dungeon Master does, because what he's saying is you just write down the stuff you need now, then, at the moment. Because they're talking about, okay, come up with 3 areas in your worlds, come up with 3 NPCs in your worlds, and, 3 notable things about a town, and just go from there. Because what you're doing is breaking it up into little chunks. You could take something like the Forgotten Realms. I mean, I've got a lot of realm stuff over here. I mean, I've got, Volo's guides. I've got the region books. It's all 2E stuff, but it's the same principle. I got the box set. I can't remember all that stuff, but I remember like it in broad strokes. So what you do is, say you're taking something like, I'm not going to use Star Wars because I just don't want to use Star Wars. It's just, if I say this, it's going to go counter to what I'm trying to tell you. But Star Wars has an expanded universe that I'm not familiar with enough to tell you about, but I am familiar with the Forgotten Realms. I would take it and find one area in that world to start with, to build stuff around. And it doesn't have to be in the usual places like Waterdeep or Shadowdale or the Sword Coast or Baldur's Gate or any place like that. Find a place you can make your own. And just read up on that little place. Find out who here's what you have to do. Say you're going to start a campaign in the Forgotten Realms, and you pick Cormyr. Pick a city in Cormyr. It doesn't have to be the capital city, but if you're going to do the capital city, all you need to know is the general flavor. What do you have? Azun IV, the leader, his main wizard Vandergast, the purple dragons, who are the law enforcement arm of that. Look up a few merchants there. Make up a few merchants for it if they don't have it. And just go from there. That's all you have to do. If you want to read up later on other things in the realms, that's fine. But if you're just starting and I know what you mean. It's overwhelming. It is overwhelming because they put out a metric butt ton of Forgotten Realms stuff, even more than Greyhawk stuff, and it can be intimidating. So what you're doing is taking your chunk and working in your worlds, and just see what's around there too. I mean, I believe Myth Drenor isn't too far away. So you have that. You've got all sorts of, and Cormyr is a good place to start because it's a kingdom. It's a lot of the realms are city states and independent things like that. This is actually a kingdom you're dealing with. So you have the capital city where you can base them on, or you got some backwater town or village on the outskirts or up in the hills, or the keep in the borderlands, that kind of thing. And just to me, this is DM 101. Start with you got a village, a place to a forest, ruins, or a dungeon or something like that, and go. Even if it's pre-written, there is room for that in there. Geez, look at the if you can get a hold of them, because they're out on. There's a lot of them out on PDF. Find the old Judges Guild stuff for the Wilderlands. Yeah, you got your big cities, and you've got your city state, and you've got Tarantus, and all this stuff, and they do a really good job of fleshing it out. But you also got your backwater areas where they just say, okay, there's orcs in this area. You got to deal with, or bugbears or something, and the town's over here, and they've got this is that's the mayor and stuff like that. Go. It's just very minimal because they're expecting DMs to make it their own. So that's what I'm saying is break it up into, find a chunk, start there. Like I said, you could read about the realms later. There may be things in other regions or books that might affect what you're doing there, but that's for later. Just get them started and just have a nice adventure going on. In the realms, they always worry about where in the timeline it is. Just make it real. I made it real simple. It's right after the Avatar trilogy. That's where I like to keep it. Right around the 2E thing, or even before that. Choose your timeline, or whatever the books say, and just go. It's some things you gotta trust. You gotta trust in the material and trust in your head. You gotta trust in yourself. But go ahead and get the like I said, the Lazy Dungeon Master by Cy Flourish, and that should put you in the right direction on just getting stuff started, even if you have a lot of material. But that's my advice. I'm going to call it advice. To hell with it. I'm going to call it advice. And let's see, what do we have coming up? As of this recording, I've done 2 of the Astonishing Swordsman modules. And I got 2 more to do, but probably the next one I'm going to do is on Basic Fantasy, because I'm trying to break them up. I want to do one every other, because there's only 4 modules. I mean, I think he's written a couple more things, but he sent me these are the 4 he sent me, and that's the 4 I'm going to do until later. I also have the White Hack on order, so I'm going to look at that too, and a couple of more Savage Worlds things. Rippers Resurrected. I just found out Slipstream is out of print, so it's an out of print thing, and they're going to be doing they got the Buck Rogers, the Flash Gordon license for Savage Worlds. So that's kind of going to replace Slipstream. I didn't know it was written back in '08 or whatever. Anyway, that's our little talk for this time. And so, until next time, I want to wish you all a very happy New Year. Hope everything you want you get this year, and I hope it goes well. Until next time, bye-bye.